Hello and welcome back to my channel, Boozy Bookish Thoughts. I'm Justine, or Jay if you prefer. And happy Valentine's Day! Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, to all of us. Whether you are happily coupled or happily coupled but in a long distance relationship, or happily coupled but unable to spend Valentine's Day together for some other reason, or if you're happily single or unhappily single, then happy Galentine's Day. I don't know. What is the dude equivalent of Galentine's Day? I also don't like Happy Single Awareness Day because it's like, it sounds so mean. Like, what if I'm happy to be single and I don't need to be made aware I'm single? So anyway, the point is, it's Valentine's Day. I'm happily coupled, but we are in a long distance relationship. So I'm celebrating alone. Most likely the weekend before, I would have had some very chocolatey drink while reading. The day itself, today when this video goes up, I am probably working and it's just a normal day. However, I do want to do a Valentine's Day themed video, and I was looking around for maybe a Valentine's Day tag because it's Tag Tuesday, but I couldn't find anything that I really liked. Plus, there's also like a lot of pressure to be recommending romance books during this time. But the thing is, I don't read a lot of romance, so I was kind of torn on like what was I going to talk about, because romance and books like that I don't read a lot of. So I came up with my very own tag, and it's called the I Won't Say I'm in Love tag. So I won't say I'm in love tag, and each of these prompts are euphemisms or idioms for being attracted to someone, for falling in love, things like that. And there's a prompt for each of them, and there are 5 prompts, and the 6th is the tag. And then in some tags you get bonus points if for different things. Like, you get bonus points. I mean, it's not really a points thing, it's just a prompt, but like, you get bonus points. Like, it's just a little extra challenge. So stay tuned for the I Won't Say I'm in Love challenge. And in the meantime, we are drinking Terrazas Grand Malbec. It's an Argentinian Malbec. And we will be discussing this wine on Friday for the wine and book night, for the Valentine's wine and book night. Cheers! Okay, so let's get started. First of all, prompt number 1, fall head over heels. Now, for this prompt, you have to recommend a book that features an accident of some kind. Now, it could be a meet cute, could be a tragedy, could be a cliffhanger, but there has to be some kind of accident. It doesn't have to be a fall exactly, but some kind of accident. And for this, I have, actually for almost all of these, I have 2 answers. But so for this one, I wanted to recommend Anthony Horowitz's The Word is Murder, except I'm a little less than halfway through, so I don't know how much I can recommend it yet, because I'm still less than halfway through, but it is very good. I am very much enjoying it, and there is an accident that is a significant plot point. So Anthony Horowitz, The Word is Murder. But instead, I want to talk about a different book that also has an accident, except this accident is a bit of a cliffhanger, so I can't tell you what the accident is. But that is Amber Fisher's Temple of the Inner Flame. So Amber Fisher Temple of the Inner Flame is a kind of paranormal mystery. It's marketed as cozy mystery, but I wouldn't call it entirely cozy, because the world building is so intense, and it is it's so rich in Black and African folklore and culture. It builds on the mythology of that, and it focuses on, like, I think they use the term Black diaspora, but I don't know if that's really what you can say, considering that the reason there are so many Black Americans is because of slave trade, but there it focuses on Black Americans and on their roots in African culture, and like the kind of magic that they have that is based on certain aspects of their culture, which I don't want to get into because I'm not an expert and it's been a while since I read the book, so I don't want to like step on anyone's toes. But the world building is amazing. The character is amazing, and the mythos of the world is amazing. And there is a pretty big accident that happens in the book and is a pretty big plot point. It is also a cliffhanger, so I don't want to like not really a cliffhanger, but it leads into the plot of the next book. So I don't want to like spoil that for anyone, aside from saying that it does happen. So slight trigger warning, the main character is a necromancer, so there are some like talk about death and dying and things like that because she's a necromancer. But the way that they conceptualize necromancy in this book is a bit different. So just keep that in mind, keep an open mind. It's a great book. Amber Fisher's Temple of the Inner Flame. There is a slight romance, for what it's worth, for the Valentine's Day theme. There is a slight romance. It's very subtle, and it's more like a what if type romance. But yes, there is romance. Next is Match Made in Heaven. So Match Made in Heaven. And for this prompt, recommend a book where at least one scene takes place in heaven and or a character is from heaven. So fallen angels do count. They came from heaven, but they fell. So there, do with this prompt what you will. So the obvious choice for me was Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, which is one of, if not the favorite book for me. And obviously it deals with the end of the world and an angel and a demon who is a fallen angel, and they are trying to prevent the apocalypse. So this there are scenes that take place in heaven, and there's obviously a character who is from heaven. I think there's even God in this, if I recall correctly. Like God even makes an appearance, or at least Metatron, the voice of God. So there's a lot of angelic and heavenly influences in this, not influences, but like scenes and scenery and characters in the story. Honorable mention shout out goes to Jim Butcher's Death Masks. Now, Death Masks is the 5th book in the Harry Dresden series, so you can't read it on its own, or I don't recommend reading it on its own. You can, you'd have to read around 4 books before you get to Death Masks. However, Death Masks introduces the concept of a group of fallen angels who inhabit or possess the coins that were accepted by Judas Iscariot for betraying Jesus. And if a person, a human person, like touches these coins, then they can become possessed by these fallen angels. And there's like a whole political system within that order, and they're called the Order of the Blackened Denarius, and they are very powerful and very creepy beings. So if you want, I just wanted to give a little bit of a taste as to the kind of world building that the Harry Dresden series has, because I've mentioned it several times, but I've always mentioned it in the context of the last 2 books, and I wouldn't know how to talk about those 2 books without spoiling the entire rest of the series. So I wanted to give this little teaser to be like, hey, this is kind of what this book series has. So the third prompt is Apple of Their Eye. So Apple of Their Eye, recommend a book where food or drink are a major plot point. Bonus points if it involves a fruit, and double bonus if that fruit is an apple. I am sorely tempted to say the Bible. Except I wouldn't actually be recommending that book. It would just be for the sake of fulfilling the prompt and saying, hey, an apple is a major plot point. But for anyone who wants to fulfill this prompt and have an easy answer, the Bible will count. But personally, I would recommend T.E. Kinsey's Rotten to the Core. This is the 8th book in the Lady Hardcastle series, and it focuses on cider makers, and like it's a cozy mystery. It's a historical cozy mystery, but like the main focus of the mystery are cider makers. So there's lots of scenes that take place in apple orchards, in apple presses, in cider making places. So lots of apples, lots of food and drink mentions, and so it definitely fulfilled this prompt. It's the 8th in the series, but they are pretty much standalone, so you could read it on its own without reading everything else, although I do recommend the whole series. This is the only prompt that I only have one answer to. I wanted to give another answer, except I recently DNF'd that series because of ableism and fat phobia, and so I don't want to give them any more airtime. But that series, if you watch my previous video, you'll figure out which one it is. But that series also mentions food a lot. The next prompt is Take Their Breath Away. Recommend a book where a preferably main character, has a near miss with death. Bonus points if they pass out. Take their breath away. So we do want them to recover, but like we don't want them to actually die, but like if there's like they had a near miss with death. So for this one, I'm recommending 2 books that I read last year and super enjoyed, but that I talked about a lot recently, so I'm not going to get into. And so the first is David Weber's Honor of the Queen, which is the second in the Honor Harrington series, and is a sci-fi space opera type thing. Very good book. Arguably can read alone without reading the first, and I do prefer it a lot to the first. Although I'm not sure if I would have enjoyed it as much if I hadn't read the first. So dealer's choice if you want to read it on its own, or if you want to read the first book. The next is the first in the series, and that is Sebastian de Castell's Traitor's Blade. In both of these series, a character has a near miss with death. I won't say who and I won't say how, so as to avoid spoilers, but there is a near miss with death in both of these books. The next is Tie the Knot. Recommend a book that involves a wedding. So it doesn't need to be set during a wedding, but the wedding or planning of the wedding or traveling to a wedding or whatever has to be like a major plot point. Now, bonus points if it's not the main character's wedding, and double bonus points if it's not a romance. So for this, I have 2 answers, except one of them is a romance, but this is arguably my favorite romance, and that is Kate Clayborne's Love Lettering. In this, the main character is she designs paper products, so she designs the invitations for the other character's wedding. But that wedding gets called off, and excuse me, sorry. So she designs wedding invitations, paper products, things like that. But then the wedding gets called off for whatever other reason. Not whatever other reason. It's a main reason. It's an important reason. But it does feature a wedding, and like she talks about the wedding. They talk about the canceled wedding a lot in the book. So that's a great option for a book that involves a wedding, but it is a romance. Now, if you want one that is not it's sort of a romance, but it is mostly fantasy sci-fi type book, and that is Marissa Mayer's Cress. Now, this is the third in a series as well, and I do not recommend reading it on its own. You would definitely have to read the first two, which are Cinder and Scarlet. However, there is a major wedding that is a major plot point in this book as well. And the last prompt is only have eyes on you. And in this prompt, you have to tag other people you want to do this tag. Now, I am tagging MJ from Reading This Life because I know she enjoys doing tags, and especially when she's tagged in the original video. I'm also tagging Kelly from Kelly Reads a Lot. She also enjoys doing tags and also enjoys doing tags when she's tagged in the original tag. And I would also like to tag Samantha from Shelves of Samantha. I know she does tags occasionally, and I really enjoyed her videos. And I just want to hear what she has to say with this tag. So those are the prompts and my responses to the I won't say I'm in love tag. Happy Valentine's Day, happy Galentine's Day, happy whatever day. And I hope you enjoy reading today, no matter if you're reading romance or if you're reading mystery, thriller, horror, whatever. In the meantime, cheers!